I'm curious, what is the story you've been telling yourself about yourself and the story that you've been believing about yourself from what you've been hearing in the media, from your family, from your upbringing, and the connection to that story and your ability to be more successful in your business, to have a greater impact, and to truly be living your mission. So there is such richness in doing the work of self inquiry and really excavating to see what are all the things in the way of your true full self expression, which is living your mission, which is having the impact that you desire. And when you do that excavation, you start to bring to the surface all these narratives that are swimming around in your head. And what you'll start to notice is the impact those narratives are having on your choices and decisions and your behavior, and really the limits they are placing on what is possible for you. So when you think about especially dominant societal or media narratives of what it takes to be successful as an online business owner, as a woman in the business field, whatever it might be, and also the dominant narrative in your family about what it meant to be successful. And if even entrepreneurship was considered a viable option, a lot of families, it's not considered a viable option. So when you start to explore all those narratives, then you can start to see, what is the story that you're currently living out? And often that story that you're currently living out is a story of limitation, is a story of a lot of times, placing blame perhaps on society or on how you were raised or your DNA, whatever it might be, or a story of making excuses. And so the amazing thing that happens when you excavate all this is that you then begin to challenge all those stories. You eliminate all the excuses and you let go of all the blame and all the shame, because what you do then is what you start to recognize is that you are the only person capable of living out that story. And as a result, you're the only person capable of changing that story. And there is tremendous power in changing that story. There is tremendous power in taking full responsibility for your physical, mental, emotional, and financial well-being. Because then you see nothing can stop you, not society's ideas of what it takes to be successful or healthy or in a positive, fulfilling relationship, not any of your family stories, not any of the stories that you've had and the beliefs that you've been carrying for a long time. What you start to see is that those were a choice. So with that comes the choice to change that. And with that comes the freedom to see you are the only person responsible for your success. And it is your responsibility to be a success. What is really needed here in our times is more people really owning their responsibility for everything in their life, for their actions, for their decisions, for their behaviors, and the consequences of those actions, decisions, and behaviors. And really what we're being called to more than ever, especially as business owners, is being people of fortitude, of having strong character, and being an example for our community of what it takes to not only be a person of strong character, but to be running a business that has strong morals and ethics and is working towards positive social change. So, some examples to help you start to see how this can be such a oftentimes detrimental component in your success is, one example is when I was in my 20s, I was spending time with a group of people, and one woman had a difficult relationship. Her partner had cheated on her, and we were all going out, and every person she talked to, she was, oh my gosh, just telling this really drama-filled story of her, being betrayed. And I could just see that she was getting a fix. She was getting a hit out of the responses, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And it was just perpetuating this story of her being a victim. And I went up to her and asked her, and I said, you have to stop telling this story. not because it wasn't a horrible thing that happened to her, but also that she didn't need to continue to live a story of being betrayed. She could start to do the work of healing and really changing the story of being a person who was betrayed. And also, taking ownership of what role did she play, because there's two people in every relationship, and it takes two people to make or break it. And there's always ownership on both sides whenever there's a betrayal. It's not just the person that did the betraying. So, and the other example is for when you've had, for example, I've suffered some significant losses in my life, and I could continue to live that story of like, oh my God, I can't believe this, it was so awful, and really looking for that validation in other people about, oh, how hard it is. And I could continue to perpetuate that story of, oh my gosh, it's so hard. And then really consider what happens when someone tells you like, oh, you poor thing. Like, is that really inspiring you to make a change? Oftentimes what it happens is it perpetuates the cycle of wanting to get that fix of sympathy from someone. It doesn't actually instigate change. What instigates change is someone seeing you as competent and capable of overcoming a betrayal or overcoming a significant loss. And someone seeing you and saying, wow, that must be really hard. And I know that you're going to get through this. And what do you think would help? So seeing that you are the person who can get through this, and you are the person that has the answers, instead of seeing you as a victim or incompetent or helpless. Because when someone sees you that way, it just fosters this story of helplessness and of dependency. And that is not a way to live a life, nor is it a way to run a business, nor is it a way to be coaching people. You don't want to be looking at your clients through that lens either. And really, for me as a coach, it's my job and my responsibility, and it's always been my philosophy to see that my work is helping and guiding my clients to see they have the answers and guiding them to their specific answers, not my answers, not my agenda. Is really guiding them to see how competent and capable they are and how significant the work they are doing is. And seeing people through that lens is what inspires people to rise. And when we hold higher standards for each other and for our behavior and for our responsibility for our lives, we change our lives, we change everyone's lives. When I was working in the school system, it was the same. When I held high standards for my students, they rose to those standards versus me saying, oh, I better just lower my standards because these students don't have enough background. No, I'm going to raise my standards because I know they're competent and capable, and I'm going to teach with compassion and with, understanding, but I'm not going to see them as not competent. That doesn't serve them at all. One of my students in one of my classes had mentioned he had a professor that really was like sort of a lenient grader, and he said I didn't learn how to write well because I didn't get any constructive feedback. And that's the point of coaching, of being in relationship with people that have high standards and that see you for the magnificence that you are, is that you rise to fill the role of that magnificence. And we don't need people in our lives that bring us down and that don't see us as competent and capable and see us as victims or see us as helpless, because that doesn't help us grow. That fosters dependency and really is a detriment to our growth. So it's time for all of us, but particularly business owners, to really live that narrative, and the narrative of strength, of character, of competence, of significance, because that is the narrative that's going to make change, not only in your business, but in your relationships, because you're going to hold yourself differently. You're going to see yourself differently, and you're not going to allow low standards for conversations, for treatment of each other, of other people, and begin challenging the dominant narrative in the media as well about what it takes to be a person of character and what it means to be a person in society, and the requirement for all of us in society to take full responsibility for our actions and behaviors and choices and beliefs, and to be continuing a process of critical reflection about all of that so that we're continuing to become better people. All right, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed yet, of course, I'd love to have you here. If you are ready to really take your business to the next level and to be living your mission in affecting positive social change and being an example for your community and your family, please reach out to me. I would love to work with you and really guide you to your best solution, your best answers, your best life. Thanks for being here.